This is Chargers Now. I am your host, Will Ortner, and as the NFL offseason really starts to ramp up, we're going to look at 4 potential cut candidates for the LA Chargers. Some guys that, frankly, I don't know that they will be in Los Angeles in the 2026 NFL season. If you want the Chargers to have a successful 2026, you want this team to reach the heights that it could potentially reach during the regular season for the National Football League, then make sure that you like today's video. I think that the Chargers are going to be able to get better by getting rid of some of the excess players or some players that right now really are not living up to their contracts. And I think that the best thing for the Chargers is for them to continue to make sure that they're progressing forward. If you like that plan, hit the thumbs up button. First cut candidate that I want to talk about on today's video is Punter JK Scott. Now, when you look at Scott, he is a fairly decent punter. He's about average, a little bit behind, a little bit ahead in some categories. Just kind of depends. But the problem with Scott is that he is the type of punter that there's a lot of money put into him. And if the Chargers are going to decide to put a lot of money in their punter, well, then, frankly, he should deliver on that. He should be a punter that is leading the National Football League in a lot of different categories. Right now, the Chargers, if they were to cut Scott, they would end up basically saving just under $3 million, and they could use that elsewhere. When I look at Scott, I look at a punter who's good. He's fine. That's the problem, though. The Chargers are paying a lot of money for him to be one of the best punters in the National Football League, and he is not there. The Chargers could look into this draft and go and get a cheaper and younger punter to come in and fit more of the style that they want and hopefully continue to progress forward. When you look at the Seattle Seahawks, they have a guy in Michael Dixon who has been the best in the National Football League and has helped them in some really big situations. Scott is just unfortunately not that. Next player that we got to talk about might not come as a surprise, but it, of course, is Bradley Bozeman, the center for the LA Chargers, and he is someone who has not performed at nearly a high enough level, and frankly, he has been very, very poor. When you look at what Chris Spearing had to say here of clutch points, I think it really touches on everything that a lot of Chargers fans are thinking when it comes to Bradley Bozeman. It is time for the Chargers to move on from Bradley Bozeman. Bozeman played almost every single snap, if not every single snap at center for the Chargers this season. His availability was nice to have for Justin Herbert, but his production was terrible. It was not a good in 2024 either. To me, rip the Band-Aid off. The interior of the offensive line for the Chargers was an absolute problem. And while the tackles were also an issue for the Chargers, it was still very clear, at least to me, that you can go into next year, and if Slater and Alt stay healthy, well, the Chargers have 2 bookend tackles that can do a lot. When you look at the stat line here for Bozeman, not good enough. I understand that PFF isn't the end-all, be-all, but the interior of this offensive line was absolutely horrific. They were no good, and he was the leader of that. When I look at this crew, it just seems to make sense right now to just rip the Band-Aid off, go into free agency, and spend money on other players that are playing that center position. There are multiple good centers that could potentially hit free agency, whether it's Tyler Linderbaum or Connor McGovern. Go after those guys instead of running it back with this crew. Plus, if the Chargers do end up releasing Bozeman, it is going to end up saving them $5.8 million, and I do think that that could be used elsewhere. Let me know, who do you want the Chargers to sign in free agency? I think there's a multitude of different players that you could really look at that could really come in and add instantly to this lineup. So make sure that you look around and you let me know who your top free agent target should be for this team in LA. We're going to go back to the offense, but unfortunately, we're not going to quite look at the offensive line yet. Hint, hint, that could be something that is coming later. Let's take a look right now at tight end Will Dissly. And while he does have a great first name, unfortunately, that's about the only thing that has been great from Dissly right now. When you look at the stat line, Dissly has been less than advertised. Not the most stellar season in 2025, obviously not having a ton of catches, not making a ton of big plays. Now, to sit here and say that Dissly was expected to be this big primetime performer, this great star for this team, would be wrong, of course, when you look at his stats throughout his career. He is a player that has dealt with some injury issues, obviously dealing with some in LA as well, but he is a player that is known for his blocking skills. The problem is you don't want to pay any type of big monetary value to a player at tight end that's known to just be a blocker. In today's NFL, you have to be able to catch the football as well as be a good blocker. And to me, Dissly, he just hasn't been great in LA. Now, he wasn't supposed to come in and be the all-time star. He wasn't supposed to come in and be Antonio Gates 2.0. But at the same time, it's frankly not good enough. Chargers would end up saving $4 million if he was released. And frankly, again, I think that money can be allocated elsewhere, and it could be allocated towards someone who's either improving that tight end room, or it could be allocated to more of the offensive line improvements that the Chargers want to make. Last player that we have to talk about, and I think this is the one that is on everybody's board, everybody's list. Mekhi Becton was not good this year. Mekhi Becton was just not what he was supposed to be. Chargers go in and they make a bunch of they pay a bunch of money to a player that was very successful in Philadelphia, to a player that had a career resurgence, everyone thought. And then, unfortunately for the Chargers and for Mekhi Becton too, he was not good this year. Here's what Chris Rowling of Sports Illustrated had to say on Becton. This was the Chargers' big swing at fixing the interior of the offensive line in front of Herbert last season, but they knew the risks, which is why they structured the contract that was a 2-year deal with an out after just one season. Before joining the Chargers, Becton's one good year in Philadelphia was during his first season as a guard and an overall anomaly from a health standpoint. Look for the Chargers to go with something more steady next time. It's pretty clear to me. You took a risk on Mekhi Becton. And look, I myself, just like the Chargers, thought that he had transitioned into being a star guard, right? Tackle is a very difficult position to play. He was going to come in and be an absolute workhorse. Stats say he wasn't. Stats say that he was absolutely atrocious this year, and it makes no sense for the Chargers to hang on to him. So get rid of him. Don't deal with this in LA anymore. You have a star quarterback. You have a player at QB that can lead you to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold just won a Super Bowl in Seattle, and I would take Justin Herbert over Sam Darnold. So to me, if you would have Herbert over Darnold, the guy who just won a Super Bowl, Herbert can then win a Super Bowl. And if Herbert can win a Super Bowl, you need to surround him with talent and with players that are going to keep him upright or catch the football from him. Becton is not keeping him upright. Get him gone. He does not need to be in LA anymore, and he does not need to be in LA with the Chargers. Chargers are going to end up saving $9.7 million if Becton is released, and it seems pretty clear. Becton doesn't want to be in LA. Chargers do not want him in LA. The fan base doesn't want him in LA, and frankly, I don't think that he fits with Mike McDaniel and his offensive scheme and offensive system. So to me, this one seems pretty darn easy. If you agree with my list of cut candidates, make sure that you go in and like today's video. If you disagree, you can still go into the comment section and let me know. Just make sure you use nice words because, well, I can be sensitive sometimes. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. We got you covered on everything LA Chargers throughout the year of 2026. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video, and bolt up.